to bring a tissue because we're going to be doing some alternate nostril breathing. So if you find yourself with some boogers this morning, I don't know, I woke up and I have seasonal allergies and for some reason feel like I don't want to use allergy medication every day. So I kind of just struggle through. And some mornings I wake up and feel pretty congested. So if that's you, you might want to like give your nose a couple good honks, clear your nose. And there's also this really kind of strange nose clearing technique I learned during a traumatic stress breath workshop I took earlier in the year, where you breathe in, you plug your nose, and then you go like this. You just bop your head up and down. Yeah. So if you're feeling really congested, that can be super helpful, although, you know, who knows if you want to do headbanging at this hour. So let's kind of take notice of the nose. Let's take notice of whether or not it feels kind of easy to breathe in and out of the nose, and then just take care of ourselves in that. And I think before getting started, we're going to press play on the music just because I think my playlist is maybe a little longer than an hour. It's very hard to pare it down today. All right. So good morning. Good morning. All right. And I know that most of you are familiar with alternate nostril breathing, but let's just break it down step by step as we move into our practice. We're going to get started by taking your right hand and you're going to fold your index and middle finger down so that they're touching your, like the base of your thumb. And your ring and pinky fingers will stay extended as well as your thumb. All right. And then we're just gonna bring this hand in front of the face. Yeah. And your left hand just rests easily in your lap. And let's take a big breath in through the nose. And a big breath out of the nose. Good, and then seal off your right nostril with your thumb and breathe in through the left side.
Sitting, we're starting with sitting.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, we're seated and I'm just thinking like, let me go around and mute those of you. So hang on just 1 second while I make that happen. Okay, all right, so holding your hand like this, you're gonna close off that right nostril, breathe in through the left nostril. And then close off the left nostril, breathe out through the right. Inhale through the left or right nostril. Close off the right. Exhale out of the left. Good, inhale left. Close off the left, exhale out of the right. Good, inhale right. Close off right, exhale left. Keep that going, inhaling, exhaling. Okay, moving side to side. Every now and then when I practice this, I feel a little catch or a little phlegminess. Just see if you can push beyond it. And keep that breath moving through, kind of flossing through here. You're all muted, so if you need to forcefully exhale, blow a snot rocket, you are welcome to. And maybe we'll just take 5 more rounds of this type of breathing. See if you can keep your breathing kind of slow here. Good. Last round. Good, and then go ahead and just release your hands into your lap and breathe in and out of the nose. And maybe your eyes are closed for a few moments here with your internal gaze turning up into that space in between the eyebrows, so that slight looking up and towards the center. Just wanted to begin this morning with a poem by Alice B. Fogel called Balance. She writes, "Balance is everything, is the only way to hold on. I've weighed the alternatives. The hold is harbor. It isn't safe to let go. But consider the hover. Choice is made, the moment between later and too late. Hesitation is later, regret too late. You can't keep turning and turning or expecting to return. This earth is not a wheel, it is a rock that erodes mountain by mountain. And I have been too soft like sandstone, but there is a point where I stand without a story, immutable and moved, solid as a breath in winter air. I have seen my death and I know it is my neighbor, my brother, my keeper. In my life, I'm going to try to keep for the balance, remembering the risks and the value of extremes. And that experience teaches the length of allowable lean, that it is easier and wiser to balance a stone as if on one toe, though it weigh 100 pounds, than to push it back against the curve of its own world." Right, and then from here, let's just make our way out into child's pose, I am thinking this morning. And in your child's pose, it might be helpful to take your block-like item and place it underneath your forehead so that you have a little bit of like a support for your head, but also a little bit of pressure at that space in between your eyebrows. Good, and you might rock your forehead side to side on your block. Great, think about arranging your arms in any way that makes sense, your shoulders, so that might mean they're extended out long, but maybe, you know, if you've been doing a lot of heavy lifting, whether that's like in the physical sense of the word or the emotional sense of the word, you might bring your arms alongside your body and allow your shoulders to come down towards the floor, the tops of the shoulders heavy, as if some of the weight could slide off of it. And here, as you rock your head from side to side, connect the tip of your tongue to the roof of your mouth, just behind the teeth, to that little ridge. Okay, so today we are going to be practicing poses that help us become aware of this concept called the microcosmic orbit. There are two governing vessels or governing meridians in our body. We talked about the conception vessel meridian a few weeks ago that runs from the tip of the tailbone up the front of the body, and then it lands at that space, kind of works its way around your eyes, but then it lands at that space behind the teeth. And then there's the governing vessel meridian, which also starts at the tip of the tailbone, but it runs up the back of your body, straight up the spine, up the back of the head, around the crown, down through the center, and then lands right there behind the teeth as well. And so the conception vessel meridian is all about our yin, our feminine energies, our receptive energies, and the organs that are associated with that. It's kind of like the confluence of all of the meridians of the yin organs. And then the governing vessel meridian is the sea of all of our yang energy, or our fiery, masculine, active energy. You're thinking of it as a mighty river, both sides, collecting different types of energies. Good, and just feel your hips sitting back towards your heels here, the weight of the head sinking down into the block. Thinking of yourself as a couple of mighty rivers. One of fire, one of water. Good, just a few more deep breaths in your child's pose, breathing deeply as feels comfortable today, in and out of that nose, and noticing what type of energy feels predominant in you today. Are you tending to one side or the other? Do you feel kind of in the middle of things? Perfect. Yeah, 3 more breaths. Right, and then let's take a little bit of time just to shift up onto hands and knees. And we're not going to stay here on hands and knees forever and ever, but just for a couple of moments. You might take notice of the hands and spread the fingers wide, or even turn the hands around so that the fingertips face back towards the knees, waking up those channels, all right? Waking up our hands a bit, our wrists. Good. Breathing deeply, noticing your shoulders here. All right, and then let's bring ourselves back through to the center. So those fingertips point forward if they were pointing back. And now let's round and drop the belly and just move through some pretty basic cats and cows. Thinking about connecting that space right behind your teeth, where hopefully your tongue is, to the very tip of the tailbone. Okay, imagining that those are like the 2 opposite ends of the jump rope as you move. All right, soften your eyes. Perfect. And then come back to neutral. And as you come back to neutral, let's extend that left leg nice and long behind. Just pick it up here. Maybe the toes stay down on the floor for a moment if you're feeling kind of fatigued this morning, or you might lift it up nice and high. And then you can come up onto your right fingertips and sort of tent that hand or reach it forward, just thinking about finding balance through the center line of the body. And yeah, that left hand and right knee are on the floor, but you're also supporting your own balance by reaching out through the hand and the foot that are lifted. Good, just a couple more breaths. All right, and then we'll set that left knee down. We'll raise that right arm up and slide the right arm underneath the left. Taking your thread the needle. As you thread the needle, cross one ankle over the other. Good, and just get that sense of balance here. Good, let's take that left palm and place it on the very top of the head where we have one of our governing vessel meridian points. Good, just sort of cradling the crown. And maybe even massaging the crown a bit. Yeah, and if you would like to explore a little bit more balance, you're welcome to lift up that left leg here. Good. Just holding yourself. I think we'll remain for another minute or so. About 7 to 10 deep breaths. I think one of the most important pieces of finding some balance, some internal balance, energetic balance, is to really be honest and clear about the type of energy that you are feeling, and then to apply the opposite. If you're feeling really fired up, something cooling. If you are feeling sort of down, heavy, watery, something fiery, something brightening. And we're gently going to unwind ourselves out of this shape by taking the left hand to the floor. Reach that right arm up nice and high. Big, big stretch across the collarbones. Exhale, place that right hand down on the floor. And I want to invite you into a little bit of movement here, which might be you doing some cats and cows, or maybe you want to take it back into a downward facing dog and shift yourself into plank and back into down dog. Okay, what do you need? What's going to feel right in your body this morning? Okay, so much of the yoga practice is this like seeking out of balance, right? Okay, we don't do yoga to become wildly out of balance. Yeah, at least I would hope not. So this is where the intuitive or intuition part comes in. We really want to think about or feel into what we need here, and to trust what our body is telling us rather than what our brain is telling us about what we need. Good. And just know that when you move intuitively, there's really no wrong way to move, right? You can do what you need to do here. Why don't we just give ourselves a minute or so to flow through some series of movements that feel appropriate in your physical body, that kind of have you moving around that midline. As you take that movement, you might really think about keeping some attention on the midline, or the tip of the tongue to that spot behind the teeth. Or maybe you're leading yourself with the tip of your tailbone. Who knows here? Nice, everyone. Good. 2 more breaths. Great. Let's meet back on hands and knees. And as you find your hands and knees in that neutral spine, let's extend the right leg out and back behind now. Really keeping that nice strong lift. And as you lift that right leg back, flex through the foot, really press out through the heel here, like you're going to kick something. Yeah, good. And then either come up onto your left fingertips or extend that left arm forward, seeking out the balance. Good, the balance, not just in what's grounded, but also in what's reaching, right? Okay, not just in the steadiness of the grounded points, but also in that activity. Good, a couple big breaths like this, holding yourself high. Right, and let's set that right knee down. Lift the left arm up, big stretch. Exhale, slide that left arm underneath. Let's bring the head down to the floor. Good, you might cross your ankles here to help you maintain that like coziness, that sense of stability in the lower body. Good, you could take that right hand and place it on the top of your head, cradling your crown, or even like giving yourself a little scratch or massage up there. Can be a nice thing. Good, couple big breaths. Yeah, and if you want to take that bigger balance, you might pick the right leg up and send it long behind you, placing your body in that really powerful, but maybe sort of awkward shape. Sometimes engaging our fiery side can feel real weird. or even, you know, unsteadying, but it's about building steadiness, I think. Good. Great, a couple more breaths. Perfect. If you have that right leg lifted, step the knee back down to the mat. We're gonna unwind out of this, taking that right hand to the floor, I think, reaching the left arm up, big stretch. Great, and as you exhale, set that left hand down. And again, just a little bit of time for movement here. So yeah, if you are feeling like building some of that fiery energy, you might make your way back into down dog and then shift forward into your plank. And yeah, I see Liz is taking side planks, which are a really nice way to bring some attention to the top of the head and the tailbone, the sides of the body. Good. Yeah, that can be practiced on your knee down as well. That lower knee could drop down to the floor. Good. What is your tongue doing? Is it super tense? Is your jaw gripping? See if you can give yourself a little bit of release there. Yeah, and cats and cows are wonderful here too. And eventually we're gonna sink ourselves down into a puppy pose, and there's really no rush to get there. We're gonna hang out in puppy for a good few minutes. So if you're feeling like some more good activity, you're welcome to keep moving through your planks and side planks. Eventually we're gonna look like this. Your hips above your knees, your arms stretched out nice and long in front of you, like child's pose or down dog came together, had a baby. Good. I'm a big fan of crossing ankles here too. So maybe that's something that works in your body and feels steadying. Perfect. Great, and take notice of the underarms here and the sides of the body. Good. The breath coming and going out of your lungs. Good. Good. So your forehead might be on the ground, or if it feels like you have the space to do so, you might actually look forward, bringing the tip of your chin to the ground and stretching through the tissue of the throat. Okay, if that feels really awkward in the neck, don't do it. Certainly not a requirement, but just one of the variations of puppy pose. Good. Yeah, just another couple of breaths here. Good. Awesome. And then as smooth as water, just begin to flow through onto your belly, sliding yourself forward. As you slide yourself forward, coming out into the full pranam, which is you with your belly on the floor, your forehead down, and your arms reaching out nice and long past your head. Good, setting yourself down. It might feel nice to kind of walk the feet in towards each other and let the heels drop out. Good, tops of the feet, really making that connection to the floor. Good, holding yourself here for 10 breaths or so in this gesture of total surrender, right? Good, this act of giving up. You're giving up something. And for all of us, it might be, you know, whatever that thing is, might be a little bit different. Giving up our need to control things, maybe. Or maybe it's giving up this feeling of stuckness. For you to experience balance, what needs to go? Is something to ponder for a few more breaths. Nice. Good. Last big breath or two here in your full pranam. Great. Right, and let's make our way up into our Sphinx pose here. And in the Sphinx pose, I've been practicing this a bit myself, and it just kind of hits all the right notes for me recently. Having a block in front of you so that you can maybe rest your head down onto the block in Sphinx pose. So your elbows are going to be more or less underneath your shoulders, your legs nice and long behind you. But then set your head down if that's possible. And if you don't have a block like this nearby, that's okay. You can always just like drop your head down too. Good, and as you set your head down, notice your lower ribs and think about maybe setting them down closer to the floor too. Good, with your tongue behind your teeth, rock your head side to side, whether or not it's connected with the block. Releasing tension from this really interesting energetic space in between the shoulder blades. There's like this diamond of acupuncture points back there. It's really kind of cool. And it sort of frames our governing vessel in that area. Notice what sensations you feel come up there. You notice what you're feeling in the scalp, on the back of the head. Good. A few more breaths here. Great, and if your head is still down, now just begin to lift the head and point the chin up. And so we're sort of trying to keep the base of the skull away from the top of the neck, more or less, but really pointing that chin high. Good, finding a stretch through the tissues of the neck, the throat. Good, and then you might take a couple of rotations here, really gentle rotations with the neck, with the head. And those rotations go in both directions, so a few in one direction, a few in the other. Good, and then you can stay here on your elbows or press into the hands and lift the elbows, taking a seal pose. Good, a little bit of like a bigger back bend or front body opener. And as you inhale, breathing calmly through the nose. And as you exhale, stick out your tongue, lion's breath. Maybe a couple of those if you'd like. Calm inhale through the nose. Big exhale, stick out that tongue, cross your eyes, big scary face. Yeah, and you'll know when it's time to set yourself down. Go ahead and do it. And shake your body down into the floor. Really shake your hips side to side. Yeah, you might take the arms and sort of wrap them alongside you. Your hands might even come underneath your hip points for a couple of moments here. Right, perfect. Now let's bring our hands underneath our shoulders and we're gonna come to sit back on our heels for a moment. And today we're gonna practice a rabbit pose. And in this rabbit pose, we're gonna grab a hold of our elbows. So rabbit pose is where you come to balance on the crown of the head. Your hips are gonna be above the knees. And here we're gonna either reach back for the thighs or we're gonna reach back for the heels. Good. And stretch through that space in between our shoulder blades. Good. Just see where your arms reach. If they don't quite reach to the heels, that's okay. Another nice variation is to take your arms and wrap them behind you and interlace your fingers and press your knuckles up towards the ceiling. Yeah. Good. And you might think about balancing on your knees, letting your feet float away from the floor here, kind of pointing your toes up and back. Nice. Okay, take notice of the very top of your head. Good. Good. Your eyes, your cheeks. Good. A couple more breaths. Right, and then from here, just come on out of it in the way that makes the most sense to you. Maybe you sit back in a child's pose for a moment. Good. And then we're going to shift ourselves back up onto hands and knees. And as you find your hands and knees, I just want to offer up a little something to build some inner fire, if that's what you're looking for this morning. You're just going to tuck your toes underneath and pick up your knees so that your knees are about just the same level as the heels. So it's like hands and knees, but with just like a little added oomph, you know, a little added fire. A nice stretch through the undersides of the toes as well. Okay, you might hover here for a brief moment or two. Really engaging those inner thighs as well. And then we're going to shift back into downward facing dog. And as you find your down dog, really let the crown of your head drop down. Let it be super heavy here. Good. A deep inhale through the nose. And a big exhale through the nose. Good. Downward dog is one of these poses where it's just like equal parts effort and ease. So looking for the ease where you can find it, but efforting and kind of drawing your thighs back in space, drawing your lower belly up and back. Yeah, nice. Good, a few more deep breaths here. And then let's start to walk the feet to the hands or the hands to the feet or a little bit of both, where we're going to come into our standing forward fold. So standing forward fold can look so many ways, and I just want to encourage you to set up your legs so that you don't have a whole lot of tension through the hamstrings, through the hips. Think about bending your knees a little bit. It's a really nice thing to do for yourself. I'd like to make this standing forward fold a little bit more about like the space between the tip of your tailbone and the top of your head than anything else. Good, and it might be nice here as you drop your head down to kind of swivel your head around really gently, maybe making like a figure 8 on the floor with the crown of your head. And yeah, this is where that hair pulling is just so dang nice. So many of the points of the governing vessel are located on the back of the head, right up the back, right up the middle. So you might go ahead and just like pull the hair all the way along the midline of the head, up to the crown, up to the hairline, and just take your fingers and like dig your fingers in, maybe a little bit of pressure, maybe something gentle. Or maybe you just want to bring your attention there. Maybe you're not into pulling your hair. Who knows? Good. Let's take maybe 10 or 15 deep breaths here. And yeah, you might sway around a little bit, swaying side to side, kind of playing the edges of your midline. Or maybe you want to hold still and really try to experience that energy of stillness. Nice. Awesome, everybody. Right. Take special notice right now of your sacrum, which is that bony plate at the base of your spine. You might even take your hands to your sacrum and gently massage from your sacrum, like up towards the lower back, up towards the kidneys. If you need to bend your knees a little bit more to make that comfortable, then go ahead and do it. And then let's take the hands and interlace them behind us, or maybe you have like a belt nearby if the hands don't quite come together. And we'll take a bit of a shoulder stretch here, really finding that squeeze into that diamond in between the shoulder blades. Good, release those arms down. Inhale for a halfway lift, hands slide up the fronts of the legs, and then exhale and fold forward. Your hands slide down the backs of the legs. Good, breathing in, lift halfway, this bit of self-massage. Hands up the front as you inhale, hands slide down the back as you exhale. And maybe we're gonna take like 10 of these or so, and you don't need to count or anything. We'll just spend a little bit of time with our breath and this type of strengthening movement. And this can also be a very grounding movement as we're massaging our legs here, which are associated with our root chakra, our grounding force. Good, and then let's take the feet a little bit wider, maybe about as wide as your mat. And we're gonna come to sit down in some kind of a squat here. So your heels might come way up away from the floor. You might take your block-like item and place it underneath you and actually sit down on it. Good, and then let's sort of sit up nice and tall here for a moment. Good, crown of the head reaches up away from the tip of the tailbone. And bring your tongue back behind the teeth again. Good, 3 more breaths. Perfect, and then from here, let's come on out of this, and it's already time to find our backs. So let's go to lie down on the floor, And in the email, I asked you to bring along like a makeshift bolster, this roll of towels or blankets, or maybe a little bit of both. So if you need to roll that up, go ahead and make yourself a little bolster here. Good, and just know that what we're doing with the bolster could also be achieved with the right type of block-like item. So we're gonna play around with it when we come to lie down, and we'll just see what happens. We'll see what happens. Good, if you're ready to lie down, go ahead and do it. And then we're gonna take that item and just place it underneath the lower part of your spine. Actually, even lower than that, we're gonna place it underneath the pelvis. And then we're gonna draw the knees into the chest. So what we're doing is we're just looking to find a little bit of a lift through the hips. Now, if you bring your hips up on this little bolster-like item and draw the knees into the chest, and it doesn't quite feel like a lot or much, you might build that stack a little higher. You might bring it up onto a block and then this little roll on top of the block. So just notice how it feels. Good, and what we're looking for here maybe is a little bit of sensation through the lower back, the kidney area, the tip of the tailbone. Just letting those knees drop in towards the chest. You might begin to extend the legs out sort of long so that the toes reach out past the head a little bit here too. Good, and then we're gonna make our way into snail pose. So this really is snail pose already, you are there. But if you're feeling like snail, it's kind of like a softer plow pose. And in plow pose, keep your head more or less straight and draw the chin in towards the throat. That's step number one, keeping this nice stable structure of the neck and shoulders. And then you're gonna maybe lift up the spine a little bit here and take that support underneath the middle of your back. I don't know if y'all can see what I'm doing. We're all in like a little bit of a compromised position, I'm sure. And so the knees might come down closer to the head, and you wanna ease into this really gently. This is more or less like a soft plow pose. In plow, your hips are up and above your shoulders. Your legs are straight, your toes are plugged into the ground. If you want to take that super active variation of this intense forward fold, this big back body stretch, you're welcome to hit your plow pose. That's totally fine. You might keep it real soft, your hips up on the bolster, your knees in towards the chest. And we'll stay for a little bit. Let's take another 70 breaths or so here. Good, and then we're just really gently going to set ourselves back down, one foot at a time. Let's find our way into a restorative bridge pose. So your restorative bridge could be using this softer support of the bolster, soles of the feet on the floor. You could place a block underneath that place as well, right under your pelvis. And another thought is maybe extending one of your legs out long, or perhaps both of your legs out nice and long here. If you're low back, pelvis, hip area is kind of in agreement with that sort of movement. And you might even take your arms overhead again. Just giving the front of your body some space to open and to breathe in this passive shape. Good, another 10 deep breaths here. Nice. From here, let's just start to bend the knees again. If the legs were extended out long, place the soles of your feet on the floor. And we'll lift up the hips and take that support away. And then we're just going to drop our hips over to the left and then our knees over to the right for a spinal twist. And as you find this spinal twist, let's focus on maybe keeping the back of your head touching the floor. I know sometimes we look over the shoulder opposite of the direction the knees are pointing, but this time let's keep the head really grounded through that back line. Arms reaching out or hands soft on your body. Good. Maybe there's something in between your knees for a little bit of lower back support. As you breathe, see if you can, in your mind's eye, imagine that center line of the body from the tip of the tailbone right up to the crown of the head. And rather than breathing side to side or imagining that breath moving side to side, imagine the breath moving up and down this rotated spine. Almost as if your breath is like climbing a double helix of sorts. Okay, inhaling this energetic energy up to the top. And exhaling this kind of calm, cool, easygoing energy back down. Fire moves up. And water moves down. Good. About another 10 breaths on this side. Good. And then from here, bring yourself back through to the center where it might feel good to take a bridge pose, lifting those hips, press into those feet. It might feel nice to revisit like a snail, maybe a happy baby. Maybe you just want to lie in Shavasana in this pose of take ultimate surrender. Good. Whatever works. It's going to help you feel balanced. Good. Your body knows the answer. It really does. Nice. Eventually, we will take our time to find the twist over on the other side, just at your own pace. Good. Dropping your knees off to the left this time, scooting your hips over to the right, and keeping the back of the head touching the floor. Beautiful. The breadth of the collarbones. The shoulder blades snuggling in on that diamond in towards each other. Good. Fire moving up the spine, water moving down as you breathe. Good. Another small set of breaths here, maybe like 8 or 9. Good. And then start to make your way either over onto your side or back onto your back, whichever you prefer. And just taking a moment to do a thing, whatever that thing might be. Again, listen to your body. Your body is smart. Your body knows. I'm going to practice a little something here in the middle before eventually we're all going to come up into a nice seated position, into some kind of a comfortable seat, whether it's on the floor or maybe you're sitting in a chair on your block or your bolster-like item, or a few minutes of seated meditation. Okay, we're going to take a pretty focused meditation this morning. We're going to kind of work our way around what's called the microcosmic orbit, which, as I mentioned before, is this marriage of our dew channel, or our governing vessel channel, which runs up the back side of the body from the tip of the tailbone, up the spine, over the top of the head, and kind of goes through our brain, actually, and then winds its way into that space just behind our teeth. And then the Ren channel, or conception vessel channel, which is from, again, the tip of the tailbone, but this time up the front of the body, or the yin side of the body, through the throat, in the mouth, and then also lands here behind the tip of the back of the teeth. So we're going to sit up nice and tall and close your eyes if that feels right to you. And then touch your tongue to that point. And just take a couple of breaths without any agenda, without any need to do anything, just a few breaths here. And on your next exhale, feel the exhale kind of settle you down into your seat. As you inhale, move your attention from the tip of the tailbone, up the spine and the back, up the back of the neck, the back of the head, over the top of the head, down through the front, and to that space behind the teeth. As you exhale, go from that space behind the teeth down through the midline of the body, all the way down through the front of the body, back down into that point at the bottom. Inhale, that breath winds its way up the back, up the spine, up those ridges, up through the crown and around through to the teeth. Exhale down through the throat, cooling energy down through the middle of the belly into the tip of the tailbone. And just keep that moving around here, the inhale up the back, this vessel, this river, mighty river of yang or fiery energy. And as you exhale down through this meandering, cool river, the yin river, the Ren channel. And coming around, breathing in, lifting up, breathing out like water. Good, we'll just keep this going for maybe 10 more cycles. Good, last 2 cycles. Perfect. And then from here, let's bring the hands together at the heart. Your eyes can open or close, and we're just going to rub our palms together, create this friction, create our own little fire here. Our own little fire to make things happen in this world. Good. Really rubbing them together, warming yourself up. Good. Let's take those hands and bring them to our eyes. Sort of cleansing our vision. Good, and then bring the hands back together, rub them a couple more times here. Nice warmth. And bring the hands to the heart. As you inhale, lift the heart up into those warm hands. And as you exhale, drop the head down towards your hands and your heart, honoring your practice and honoring each other too. And I'm so grateful you're all here this morning. Go out and enjoy this beautiful day. It was lovely to see your faces. Yeah. Great. T-shirts are coming in soon if you ordered one. Yay! Very exciting. I'll see you all later. Bye. Thanks.